What's up, everybody? Today we're going to talk about boots, Ennis, and much more when we come right back. Welcome to another episode of Ringwalk Boxing Podcast. I am Bean. And today we're going to talk about the Boots Ennis recap and some other aspects of boxing that we love to gather and talk about. And today, over here in U.S. Eastern Standard Time, it's 2 p.m., just after 2 p.m., 2:18. So if you're in the UK, it's around 7:18 your time. So hopefully the viewers from overseas, it's earlier today, so hopefully you'll be able to chime in the chat room. Make sure you hit the thumbs up as you enter, please. And share this link on your social media platforms and tell a few friends. We're definitely growing and growing every day here at Ringwalk Boxing Podcast. All right, so yesterday I was kind of out and about for a while or whatever, but I was able to come back in time to see the latter half of the Makhmudov versus Dave Allen fight. And for what I did see from the midway through towards the ending round was a lot of toe-to-toe action. But what I did notice with Makhmudov was he wasn't loading up his punches for real. He really wasn't loading up his punches like you would expect most big punchers to do. You know, like when Deontay Wilder launches out that right hand, he kind of loads up and just lets it go with everything behind it. Well, Makhmudov was actually just kind of like, he was still punching hard, but he wasn't like lunging. He wasn't throwing these crazy haymakers. He was doing enough to let Dave Allen know, you need to respect me. And he pretty much stayed consistent throughout the fight and was up on the scorecards in the later rounds. And Dave Allen did have a couple of good moments where he was able to get in and land some uppercuts and, you know, throw a couple of haymakers and some hooks to the body, a couple of body punches here and there. But his work rate wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for Makhmudov, who I was thinking may get tired. He may gas out. You know, a real big dude. I want to say he's a Russian descendant, but lives in Canada now. But Makhmudov showed he could have a game plan. He could stick to his game plan. He could dish out enough punishment without being overzealous and necessarily going for a knockout. He was just able to show that he had a good work rate for a big guy. And he was able to stay consistent throughout that fight to where Dave Allen it put pressure on him in the late rounds to where Dave Allen needed a knockout. And where Makhmudov was already ahead, he could just pretty much coast through the last championship rounds and just be very smart, be strategic, and don't slip up. So shout outs to Makhmudov for that win. It was a good decision win. After the fight, and I know prior to the fight, Anthony Joshua, from my understanding, has sent a message to Makhmudov saying that if you win, I will fight you next. So after the fight happened, Makhmudov called out to Anthony Joshua and pretty much let him know, hey, he let him know in a playful way. It really wasn't like in a real confrontational type way, but it was more like, hey, Anthony Joshua, my brother, let's set it up. Let's get me and you in this ring next. You know what I'm saying? So I want to know from the viewers out here, do you like the matchup, Makhmudov versus Anthony Joshua? Let me know in the chat. what your feeling would be on that matchup. And then also I saw yesterday that Guido won his fight by knockout. I was able to catch some of that fight. He won by a KO, and I want to say he called out Anthony Joshua as well. So Anthony Joshua has options, ladies and gentlemen. If it's not Magmadov, it could be Guido. If it's not Guido, it could be Magmadov. So the main thing is for AJ to get back in that ring. He's healthy now. His elbow is healed up. And I still feel like AJ has a nice amount in his gas tank. I think he has enough there to still be able to win some of these fights against the top contenders of the heavyweight division. Now, I don't think, this is just my opinion. I see a lot of people saying, well, why not Wilder, but why don't AJ fight the rematch with Daniel Dubois? Or why don't AJ fight Bacoli? Or why don't AJ fight Cabiel? And just my personal opinion, I felt like right now, because he's coming off just getting healed up from his injury, from his elbow operation or whatever. His last outing, he was knocked out by the younger Daniel Dubois. If I was managing him, I wouldn't have him go right back in there and fight a Bacoli or somebody like that right now. I would have him fight Magmadov. I would have him maybe fight Guido, who I don't know a whole lot about right now. I'm going to do some research on him. But I would have him fight fighters of that magnitude. And then if he's able to win, and if he looks pretty good, then have him fight Tyson Fury in 2026. Get in there, him and Tyson Fury, the fight that we all been wanting to see over in the UK. A huge showdown for boxing, but definitely a huge fight for the UK, because it's going to probably be over at Wembley or something over there in UK, and it's going to be packed out. I know a lot of people say this fight should have happened 5 years ago or 7 years ago or whatever, but I feel like this fight will still bring together the fan base, especially UK. But me as an American, I like these two guys. I'm not necessarily a Tyson Fury fan, but he does bring some good fights when he's fighting at a certain level, like when he fought Usyk. That to me is the best versions of Tyson Fury. I don't feel like when he's fighting people like a Tom Schwartz or Otto Wallen, that doesn't really let me know the level of Tyson Fury. Because I feel like he's considered to be an elite guy. He was a champ. So being that he was a WBC champ, there's a certain level of expectation. And I feel like he's not going to get that fighting certain tier fighters, mid-tier or lower tier. He needs to be fighting the guys at that level like Usyk, like Cabiel, like these top guys, you know what I'm saying? So if we get Tyson Fury versus AJ in 2026, I will definitely be happy. And I'm still rolling with AJ, regardless. That's the guy I always roll with. I ain't going to switch up now. I feel like AJ has the minerals. AJ has the intangibles and the power in certain ways that he will work the midsection of Tyson Fury. I can see him getting a stoppage. But, I mean, it's not to say that Tyson Fury couldn't stop Anthony Joshua. But if I had to flip a coin, I feel like if I flip two coins, chances are they're going to be both heads in favor of Anthony Joshua in regards to a knockout. Now, I can see Tyson Fury maybe winning on points if he can get down the stretch and avoid Anthony Joshua's power. He could scathe through like he did with Vlad Klitschko years ago and win that fight on a decision. But if he gets clipped, it could be night night for Tyson Fury, because AJ has more than Wilder as far as he's not going to just load up to land a right hand punch, as people have been saying. Yes, Anthony Joshua does have a right hand as well, but he has a left hand. He has a good left hand jab. He has a good left hook. He has good uppercuts. He works the body decent. You know what I'm saying? So he does have more fundamentals and more weapons than Deontay Wilder has. So I want to know what y'all think. If we do get that fight next year, 2026, who do you see winning? Tyson Fury and AJ. Who wins and how? Let me know in the chat. Also, I was able to see the fight with Tamir Smalls. Tamir Smalls advances to 16-0 in the welterweight division with his win over Jose Roman Vasquez. Hey man, just shout out to anybody who steps in the ring. You know what I'm saying? And Tamir, this is the first time I witnessed him in the ring, so I would definitely keep him under my radar. Whenever I see a fighter for the first time and they do win, or if they win in a very formidable fashion, I make sure I lock that person in, and I kind of start doing some research on them just to kind of see who their last one or two fighters were. I like to see a fighter's their most recent loss, if they have any losses, just to see what they did on why they lost. You know, like what the other opponent did and what they maybe didn't do, to kind of get an idea of, you know, both aspects. I like to see a person's wins and their losses to kind of balance it out if I don't really know who they are. Also, another good fight last night. Alexis, I believe you pronounce his last name, Barrier versus Guido Vianello. That was a 10th round heavyweight division fight, and it went 5 rounds. It was plenty of action, and Guido was able to stop Alexis within the distance. And then after the fight, as I stated before, Guido had called out the likes of Anthony Joshua. So back to the original statement before, Anthony Joshua could be facing Guido, or he could be facing Magmadov. If I had to, I'm not really a betting man, but if I was a betting man, I would say he's going to probably fight Magmadov. We'll probably see Joshua versus Magmadov early 2026, and then from there, pretty soon they'll be setting up Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua, the fight that we all been wanting to see. So I saw the statement. Shout outs to Zab Judah, which I was able to meet Zab here in Cincinnati at the Ohio Boxing Hall of Fame a few months ago. So shout outs to Nate Tubbs of Cincinnati. Shout outs to his brother, former champ Tony TNT Tubbs. And shout out to all the boxers that came from Cincinnati, you know, all of them, you know, Nuke, Rashid Warren, AB, Ezra Charles, rest in peace. Rest in peace, Aaron Pryor Sr., Aaron Pryor Jr., Antoine Pryor, Stefan Pryor, you know, the whole Pryor family here in Cincinnati, Ohio, the Tubbs family, the Charles families, you know, all these great boxing people that came from here in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's definitely a known city for boxing. And for those who may not be so privy to Cincinnati, eventually I want to do a show talking about Cincinnati boxers. I've had one-on-one interviews with Nate Tubbs. I had a small encounter with Stefan. We didn't get to do a in-depth interview, but we did. He did link up on the live stream one night. But I would like to get some one-on-ones with some other Cincinnati boxers. And so shout outs to Zone 15, P30 Dyson. I hope to get you on the podcast as well. I know he does his thing in boxing, and it'd be cool to get you on the platform. All right. So yeah. So back to Zab Judah. So he made a statement saying that Devin Haney won't be running around the ring versus Brian Norman Jr. He said it's going to be a blowout. Devin Haney is coming to put on a boxing exhibition. Now, some will agree and some won't. Devin Haney is a very technical fighter, what you call a scientific fighter, the hit and don't get hit style fighter. Me personally, some people frown upon certain styles of boxing, but me being a boxing purist, I can respect and I love different styles of boxing. I don't like just to see one style of boxing. I like the fact that you have a Mike Tyson who might be considered a slugger or a brawler. I like the Ezra Charles, who's more of a technical boxer, can be slick on his feet. You know what I'm saying? Nice angles. You know, he's slipping punches. He's sticking and moving. Your Muhammad Ali, of course, one of my goats. Muhammad Ali. You know, you stick, you move. You stick, you move. Ray Robinson, legends like Sugar Ray Leonard, stick and move guys. But then you got your guys who like to be in the phone booth, that like to dish out a lot of punishment and they don't move around a lot. So I like fighters of the modern day fighters like Pitbull Cruz. You know, whenever he's fighting, although some people say he's kind of one dimensional or whatever, he has a lot of power and he has a good chin. He can take a punch and he can dish it out. So he could take it just as well as he gives it. That's what you get when you fight in somebody like Pitbull Cruz. Saying all that to say, with Pitbull Cruz being that real sturdy, tough fighter, I feel like Brian Norman Jr. is a pretty rugged fighter as well. And it's going to be like a technical fighter with Devin Haney versus Brian Norman Jr., who's that fighter trying to cut off the ring. Now, shout out to my dude, Bud. I believe you're in Cali, Bud Sanderson. You felt like Devin Haney's going to win because he's too advanced. He's too good as far as his footwork. That his footwork is going to be the main weapon for him to be able to avoid the power shots of Brian Norman Jr. But shout outs to my my unc, Big Kiki Zone 15. He was saying how he feels that Bruce Ennis will win. You know, we kind of talked about that on the on FB or whatever. So I'm kind of like, that's a perfect style matchup. It's a very good style matchup. And some people have questions about Brian Norman Jr. because they're like, well, you can't take nothing from him. He's out here. Hey, he got knockout power. He got dangerous power. You know what I'm saying? But they haven't seen him fight at a level like they've seen Devin Haney fight at a certain level. You know what I'm saying? Devin Haney fought guys like Kambosos twice, going over to Australia to fight him in his homeland and winning twice. Devin Haney fought Ramirez, which wasn't, in some folks' eyes, it wasn't the most amusing fight, but he did win using his technical defense and moving around. Devin Haney has beat. I'm just trying to go off my head without necessarily looking it up. But he's fought a lot of good guys. And now, of course, with the Ryan Garcia fight with Devin Haney, a lot of people feel that took a lot from him. Although in the end, we all know that Ryan Garcia was caught, PEDs or whatever. But a lot of people feel like the PEDs were such small amounts, small trace amounts, to where it really wouldn't have made a difference. And to me, if that's that's obviously what Devin Haney was using. But as a few people said, and shout outs to Cam J, is that, you're going through all these measures to say you were cheated, Devin Haney and his dad, Bill Haney. Well, why is it that Devin Haney was seen dapping it up with Ryan Garcia? Like, it's all good, like y'all boys now. At first it was like, I don't want to have no association with you really like that. If anything, I want to get my revenge back. I want to get you in the ring. And this time you better not cheat me, because we will make sure you are drug tested and they'll be watching you like a hawk or whatever. You know what I mean? But now it kind of seems like there's a certain level of, confusion, because you're like, man, you ain't feeling this guy, but then you're caught dapping him up like y'all cool and like y'all buddy, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a mutual respect here. So it kind of threw people off. But thing is this, you're gonna fight Brian Norman Jr., Devin Haney. So you can make a statement right here. You can make a statement. Because you're going to be fighting somebody who is revered as being a pretty, we know he's a dangerous puncher, but on the side of Team Haney and different people, they feel like it's going to be a pretty easy clinical win for you, because they feel like you're more skilled. You fought at a higher level. You fought certain opponents or whatever, this, that, and the other. I just don't think it's going to be as easy as people think when it comes to Devin Haney. And that's not me saying he's not a good technical fighter, but I think not Boots Ennis, but Brian Norman Jr. is being overlooked. That's just my opinion. I feel like he's being overlooked, and I just can't wait to see them get in the ring and get it on, because this is going to be a good fight for sure. So let me know in the chat or in the comment area what you feel about your prediction on Devin Haney versus Brian Norman Jr. Also, let's also talk about the main event from last night. We got to talk about Boots Ennis, right? Boots Ennis is definitely one of those type of fighters to where he passes the eye test. So when people see him, even if you don't follow boxing very closely or under a microscope, or you're not a boxing purist, you're just a person who watches boxing here and there, or you're that guy who's at a B-dubs or a neighborhood bar and you're watching boxing because it happens to be on the TV. From what you see with Boots Ennis, you can see that the man has skills. Your eyes and your, what you see is like, okay, this dude got skills. But people are being critical on the fact that they feel like he hasn't stepped up. They want to see him fight a certain level opponent, and they feel like he's only fighting these quote unquote tune-up fighters. Stanionis was an okay name in most people's eyes. The guy he fought last night, Lima, people felt like, see, before that fight even happened, I felt like Boots Ennis is going to win this fight, right? So if I had to give a prediction, I saw Boots stopping him roughly maybe 5 rounds, roughly around that mark. Stop him 5 rounds, maybe 4. No. Boots Ennis stopped Lima in round 1. Not only did he stop him in round 1, he dropped him twice. But you still got people who are critical of Boots, saying that, oh, he's swinging those certain punches, even though he got speed and this and that. once he gets to the big guys of the 154 division, if he's fighting people like Virgil Ortiz or maybe even Erickson Lubin, should he beat Virgil Ortiz, they don't see Boots Ennis being able to hang in there with the top guys at 154, because they're saying that he's being a little too reckless with his punching. Yeah, he's dishing out punches, but he's leaving himself open. He's leaving himself vulnerable or whatnot. So I want to know what y'all think about that. Will Boots Ennis have issues if he fights Virgil Ortiz? If Virgil beats Erickson Lubin? Now, the same question, if Erickson Lubin wins, will Erickson Lubin give problems to Boots Ennis? Now, Erickson Lubin, if you ask me, I was chopping it up with one of my guys from over in UK in the group chat. He felt like Virgil Ortiz would beat Erickson Lubin pretty easily. Me personally, I digress. I lean towards Virgil Ortiz winning that fight, but I don't see Erickson Lubin just being the type of dude that's going to back down. Erickson Lubin is not coming just to get a check. Erickson Lubin is going to be there to fight. He showed a lot of heart when he fought Sebastian Fundora. I want to say he even dropped Sebastian Fundora in that fight. By no means do I think that he's a gimme fight when it comes to Erickson Lubin. So I want to know what y'all feel with that fight. Erickson Lubin versus Virgil Ortiz. What's your prediction? And if Virgil Ortiz wins and he has to fight Boots Ennis, just hypothetically, who would win between Boots and Virgil Ortiz? And now, let's take Erickson Lubin, for instance. If Erickson Lubin ends up beating Virgil Ortiz, and we see Erickson Lubin versus Boots Ennis, what is your prediction? Who do you see winning and how? Let me know in the chat room or let me know in the comments. Another fight I'm looking forward to seeing is Anthony Yarde versus David Benavidez, aka, as Mike Tyson called him, the Mexican Monster. David Benavidez, in my opinion, is one of the top guys. And now he's at 175. So now he has to kind of prove himself. But according to his dad, David Benavidez, his dad, he said that's what they want. They want to prove that they're the best. They want to prove that, hey, David Benavidez, I'm going to make a statement here at 175. Because we all know, and most people admit it now, is that Canelo Alvarez, he wanted no smoke with David Benavidez, right? Well, David Benavidez, a lot of people feel like his power is not all that at 175, basing it on the last, I think he had 2 fights at 175. So they're looking at those 2 fights, saying that he didn't stop these guys within the distance. So they don't feel like he can do anything when it comes to fighters like Artur Beterbiev or Dmitry Bivol. I look at it like styles make fights. So I'm not going to go based on the fact that at 175, he may not have stopped a certain opponent. I feel like he may stop. He could potentially stop Beterbiev. He could be stopped as well, though, because Beterbiev is very, very tough. So let me say that. It's not a one-way street. I feel like he could also potentially stop Bivol. Now, he did talk about the fact that he had sparred Bivol and hurt Bivol in sparring. I get it. Sparring and boxing are 2 different things. But the way David Benavidez said in the recent interview is that, hey, if I can hurt you in sparring, that still shows signs that you can be hurt. So, we'll see, man. We'll see if what it sounds like to me is David Benavidez is wanting all the smoke. Like whoever wants to challenge him, he's with it. So if it's gonna be, if after he fights Anthony Yardy, if he gets past Anthony Yardy, which I think he will, I think the first few rounds are going to be kind of difficult because Yardy has power, and Yardy, he'll get in that phone booth somewhat. You know what I mean? He'll get in there, but I feel like that Anthony Yardy is so massive, like bulky, muscle weight, that could work against him in the later rounds. Should the fight go to the later rounds, I feel like he's going to start struggling. He might start gassing out, and that's all that David Benavidez is going to need. He's going to need for him to slow up just a little bit. You can't keep your guard up because you're getting tired, or you start breathing kind of heavy, and you're starting to fatigue or whatever. That's going to be a problem, y'all. That's going to be a problem, and that's when David Benavidez can capitalize on Anthony Yardy. So we're gonna see, y'all, man. I'm just looking forward to a lot of these good fights that are being set up. Because I know Tank Davis made the statement, and some people out here made the statement saying that, well, boxing is a dead sport, blah blah blah. Nah, it ain't really. And to me, if it is dead, it's because the best are not fighting the best, and certain people that are wanting to fight the top guys are not fighting them. But also, another way to look at it is that a lot of good fights are still happening. As I had a talk with Cam J. Shout out to Cam J Network. We're still going to have some good fights. Lamont Roach versus Pitbull Cruz. Anthony Yardy, David Benavidez. Anthony Joshua's coming back into the sport. Tyson Fury's coming back into the sport of boxing. Erickson Lubin and Virgil Ortiz. Bruce Ennis fighting one of those guys. So we still have good fights out here. It's just that people are so focused on a couple of fighters or saying that their resumes are weak, this, that, and the other, to where they're not even concentrating or focused on the fights that are happening. As Cam J made a good point, that there's still good fights that are still going to be happening. You know what I mean? And I'm going to be tuning in to all that I can see when it comes to boxing. So this is a sport that I definitely follow. I've been following for a long time, and I just like talking about it, y'all. I just really love talking about it, y'all. So I'm trying to think, was there anybody else? Oh, the Sebastian Fundora, I believe, has a hand injury or something like that. And he was supposed to be fighting Keith Thurman. That was definitely a fight I was looking forward to as well. Well, unfortunately, due to him having that injury, the fight got canceled. And I don't think it's going to be a situation where they're looking for a replacement to fight, in place of Fundora to fight Keith Thurman. They're going to just go ahead and cancel that whole card. So that kind of sucks for us because that's a fight that I wanted to see for sure too. That'd have been a good matchup. And it's perfect. It's a perfect layout because say Fundora did beat Thurman, or it could be the other way around. Thurman beat Fundora. Boots Ennis is right there in that mix. Boots Ennis is right there in that mix with those guys. So it's just so many different ways that things could happen at 154 pounds. And then if depending on what not Boots, but Bud Crawford does, say he comes back down from 168 to 160, because I heard he wasn't interested in 154. Well, Boots Ennis get a couple of wins up under his belt at 154, eventually he can move up to 160 and fight Bud Crawford if Crawford's not already retired by then. I think if they do want that fight, though, with Bud, Boots needs to have a regimen of fighting at least 3 times a year. So he needs to get lined up in 2026, 3 fights, whether it's going to be Virgil Ortiz, Eric Salubin, Fundora, Keith Thurman. Get them all lined up next year. And if not by the 3rd fight in 2026, the early part of 2027, let's get Boots Ennis versus Bud Crawford. That's the fight that I think everybody would like to see. It's a far stretch. A lot of people don't feel like it's going to ever happen. But I'm hoping that it does happen. And I'm pretty sure you do too. So that's pretty much it, y'all. So we're going to get ready to wrap this up on this beautiful Sunday here in Cincinnati, Ohio, USA. And shout outs to the home team here, Cincinnati Bengals. Who they? Do y'all thing today. We got Joe Flacco now as the QB. So it'll be something to see, y'all. To see if the Bengals going to hold it down today. Playing Green Bay. So that's pretty much what it is. So, like I said, if you run this back later on tonight or tomorrow, make sure you still hit the thumbs up. That's very important. If you catch any of my other episodes, even if you're running them back, when you step into here, even if it's not doing the actual live stream itself, just hit the thumbs up because that still is going to help the algorithm. And you can still leave your comments, because I like to know your comments. I'm always taking everybody's comments and opinions into consideration, and I try to always analyze it very strongly to see if I can find something in it to rebuttal, or if it's something that I just totally agree with. That's what makes it fun, right? We don't always agree on the same things, but just make sure you share this and hit the like. Also, there's an area now where you can donate. We got the Venmo up there in the link tree and everything. So if you want to donate to the channel, feel free to do so. Also, remember we got the clothing line as well, because I know a couple of guys I had talked to were like, "Oh, you got a clothing line?" I'm like, "Yeah." So it's there in the link tree, and it's also in the description area here on YouTube. All right, y'all. So I will catch y'all next week. We should be back on our normal schedule at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, USA. And right before I go as well, I want to say shout outs to Ozzy's Catering, to my dude over there at Ozzy's Catering here in Cincinnati, Ohio. If you get Ozzy's Catering to do a catering job, please tell them Ringwalk Boxing Podcast sent you. And last but not least, In Your Face Magazine. I believe my cousin Trill is going to be getting more of these printed out here soon. So shout outs to Trill and all the guys on the committee from Cleveland to Cincinnati. All right, y'all. So we're going to wrap this up, y'all, and I will see you on the next round. Peace.